This series of bonus podcast episodes were taken from my 9-hour live stream on the 15th of April 2020. I interviewed 16 speakers back to back whilst on lockdown from the coronavirus pandemic, and I thought I would edit them just for you. Hope you enjoy and stay safe, my friends. Ashleigh King.
Hi.
So you know what it is? We were going to talk about like TEDx and stuff that you do in the university. We still can, but look what's happened. It's all gone weird. It's all gone pear-shaped.
Well, TEDx is a useful thing because I do that as a voluntary thing, but I also do it. I run events as my business. So TEDx is a useful thing to talk about what happens when things go wrong and you lose lots of money. So I think it's a useful, it's a very relevant story for lots of people at the moment. So yeah, we can talk about TEDx. We can talk about whatever you want.
I'd love to talk about TEDx because it was that interesting when you and I were talking last time. I didn't realize the whole mechanics around it about having to do what you do, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but can we talk about that? Because it was dead interesting.
So a lot of people don't realize that when you do something like TEDx, it's a huge, big organization. So it's a not-for-profit TED and TEDx, and there are thousands of TEDx's all over the world. So when you run a TEDx event, you have to apply for a license, and they don't just give them a so actually this year, 2020, is the 10-year anniversary of TEDx in Newcastle. And Herb Kim, who many people will know, actually brought that to the UK. So he brought TEDx to the UK, and he's really done so much to put TEDx on the map across the north. So in Manchester, Sheffield, Liverpool, Newcastle, and we have a society at Newcastle University who has their own separate TEDx Newcastle University event. So we've had our event running for 3 years, and I've been an attendee for those 3 years at the two previous conferences. So we decided we really wanted to put an event on this coming September. Last September when I joined the committee, we wanted to put this event on this March. And the first thing I wanted to do was to get a bigger license. So when you have a TED event, you're limited to 100 people. You can only have 100 people at your event. And if you are selling tickets, you're probably not going to bring in that much sales at that amount. You're going to have your speakers. You want to give them a +1. So really, it's hard to do an event that small. Plus, when you're looking for sponsors, they want much bigger audiences, right? So that's a big problem, because if a sponsor wants to give you some money, they're saying, well, I don't want to sponsor you unless I'm going to get the visibility that I'm looking for. So that can be quite challenging. So the first thing I did when I joined as president was say, okay, we're going to go to California. We're going to go to TED Women. We're going to get this license. And that was a very risky thing for me to do. And it was very much like, well, this is the problem. This is how I fix it. This is what I'm going to do. And at the time, that was a great idea because I had sponsors lined up, I had money and agreements made. And the projections were that we could bring, say, 2,800 in ticket sales if we brought 80 ticket sales in. And that wouldn't even cover our video and our AV. And with a TED event, it has to be very high quality because it's going to go on the beautiful YouTube channel. So I figured, well, what if we sell 250 or more, we can actually run the event, we can have very good quality, but we can also recoup these costs of going to the States. So I went to the States, paid a lot of money, I'm not going to say how much, and we were able to get 100+ license, which is great. However, what happened then is a few weeks ago, as we all know, we had to cancel or postpone our event till 2021. What that means is, for me personally, I've lost a lot of money that I invested in going to America, going to California. And, we lost sponsorships because the event's not happening and people have got other priorities. As you would imagine, we had to refund our tickets. Thankfully, all of our suppliers have released us of any agreements or things like that. But it is a real shame. We're really sad about it. So, for example, we've got some incredible speakers who have been working very hard on their talks. And, a lot of people don't know how much work goes into a TEDx event. So you have to coach people You don't just say, hey, I want 5 speakers, 10 speakers, they need to turn up on this day, and that's the info. You actually curate the experience for the audience and the attendees and the committee coming, and everyone. So your facilitators, your sponsors, so you're having this event that people come and they just leave so uplifted. You can only chat for 18 minutes, which is quite hard as well. You've got to be very good with timing. So so there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of work. So for our team of 12 of us in our committee, we were devastated. But as an entrepreneur, but as a student right now, for me, I was absolutely devastated to postpone. And financially, oh my gosh, I was thinking, what am I going to do here? This is an absolute nightmare. But I think it's also about mindset. And I know that it's been really interesting to listen to people today, because there's been this whole idea of positivity, and is it okay to be positive at this time? And is that all right? And also there's this pressure to be productive. And I think as well that I think everyone will be going through their own personal roller coaster. I certainly have been. But I do think that for me, this has given me a good time to go, you know what, I've lost that money, so what? I'm an entrepreneur, I have my own business, it does events, it does communications. This way I can give back to the society, give back to my community around me. And for the next foreseeable years, I'm going to be leading TEDx Newcastle University as executive producer anyway. Even when I graduate, I'm still going to gift my time to working with the students, because I get so much from that. So it's not a loss, it's an investment, and it's how you look at things. So that's how I've chosen to look at it, and then spend my time now going forward thinking, well, what can I do in my business to get more of my materials online? What can I sell? What can I do differently? And it's a really interesting time. A lot of the time I've been spending looking at my business finances, which has been really hard, but it's long overdue. And I'm so glad to have done that, because I think that when you know where you are and you kind of pull your head out of the sand, you can actually start coping better and looking at things. So that's how I'm dealing with the virus at the moment, giving my time for free with Freeday, which Michael was saying earlier, and things like that. It's been great. But also, taking it easy. Some days you don't want to get out of bed, some days you do.
Fantastic. And we just got some comments there. You're dead right on this one, Lucy. Take at your own pace. You can. I've been telling myself this last few days as well. Just take it on board. And it's funny. I've been to India quite a few times, and the analogy I've give is when you go to India, one small job can take all day. Like going to the dentist, for instance, or going into town to fill a form in or something. It literally consumes it. I've felt like I'm on India time. I went to put a battery on my car at Halford the other day, and unfortunately it was open. And literally that was my day. That was my day taken. It's just, whereas normally you get up early, you're dead productive, you're doing all sorts of things, and literally I'm just doing 1 or 2 jobs. But I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. There's a time management toolkit that I love on LinkedIn. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn Learning, but there's a tool, there's like a time management training course, and on there it talks about switch tasking, and that's something that's really changed my life. Okay. So I used to do so many tasks at once, and now what I do, and I have a lot of interest, so I like to have a varied day and things like that. But I now block out my time. I know Paul Lancaster does that as well. So I'll have, if I'm working with clients, I'll work with them on a particular day, and I'll keep all my emails for them till that one day, or I'll check at particular times of the day. I only check my email twice a day, for example, things like that. Because when you're always looking at your phone and then doing this and doing that, it's so hard. It's really mentally draining to try and keep up with everything.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Phil's just been on there, and Phil was talking about the relationship that he's had with the US. And he said there that if you don't respond within 12 hours, you might as well forget that opportunity. And then conversely, you're not checking your email. And I don't know about you, but I'm a bit like, for instance, if I go on holiday, I will check my email, because the worry about what I'm missing is worse than actually the taking the time to do it, you know?
Yeah, you're right. So I agree with that. Absolutely. I do have it out of office on my emails to tell people that I don't check it as much, but I still check it every day. And I do also have, like, I check LinkedIn twice a day, every day. But you could just sit on there all day. It's so easy. There's so many interesting people to talk to. And it's so easy to miss things because people are doing so much. They're putting out so much content. They've got,
Yeah.
you know, various events to go to, live streams. I think sometimes we put pressure on ourselves trying to be involved in absolutely everything. But what I've learned over the last year, so today is my first anniversary for my business. Yay!
Okay. When today?
Yeah, today.
Today.
Same as Paul Lancaster, who's 4 years today, which is great. So what I've learned over the last year is that you can't do everything. You can't go to every networking event. And I now see networking as a budget thing. So in my head, I've always loved networking, but I like to see it as, okay, how much time am I going to spend on it this week? So I try and do maybe 4 hours a week, or that's what I did when things were normal. And there are some people who do it every day. Thanks, Nicola. But yeah, I think sometimes we can focus a lot on the opportunities and, you know, coming on podcasts and speaking at events and writing blog posts or doing things like that. Thank you, guys. But the other thing is, if you only focus on the opportunity, you don't make any money, right? You need to actually do stuff that's going to bring in cash.
Yeah, you can be a busy fool for sure. It's interesting because there's two sides to that. For instance, LinkedIn. I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn, and I think a lot of people probably know, and I spend a lot of time on there. For me, I class that is actually a bit like networking or a bit like lead generation. For instance, I don't do any outbound lead gen. I don't cold email people saying, "Hey, I've got this great product for you," you know, and have you ever thought about this? Because I think that day is gone now. What I try to do is just engage and have relationships, and sales just take care of themselves. That's what I often coach. So actually, just creating relationships via LinkedIn has been fabulous for me. And you meet so many great people, you consume much great content. Yeah. And then it's like, just like Grant said earlier on, it's like, I know a man who does that. I know a lady who'll help you with that. So your network, and I think we've said this a few times today, your network is so valuable. So you're right to kind of build that into your working week, really.
Absolutely. I think there's a few people today who've spoken about authentic selling and authenticity, and that's so important. So actually, one of the things I get hired to do a lot, which has really surprised me, is go into universities like Newcastle Uni and Northumbria Uni to teach people how to use LinkedIn. So students or research associates, because I've brought in sponsorship for TEDx, sponsorship for my podcast, events I've done, fundraising for businesses and charities, and all my own personal business. I brought in £15,000 in sales last year just through LinkedIn. So I don't use any like official sales tools, or people just message me and say, "Hey, would you like to work on this project? Would you like to work on that project?" And that's really nice. Actually, that is something I'd like to work more on, is the sales stuff on myself. But actually, it's nice to know that what you're putting out there, people want to work with you because they like who you are as a person, and that is so nice. I really like that.
There's the gaffer.
Yes.
Right, checking in. Is he taking good care?
Oh, yes, good advice, and yes. So Paul is, I had to say to him before this call, like, please get off the internet, please. Because you know what it's like, we're all on the internet, everyone around the world, and it's so slow sometimes. So I was like, please get off the internet. So
I've experienced that. Like, if you've experienced that, drop in the comments to me just out of interest, because I've noticed, like, my son keeps texting me and ringing me, "Dad, this internet, I can't get online. I'm playing a heist on Grand Theft Auto with the lads, and they're all." And I'm like, look, I think the world is really, really just online now, and bandwidth. I think they're throttling us back.
Well, I know that Netflix, for example, reduced the quality.
They did. Yeah.
Streams,
Yeah.
So have you been watching much Netflix at the moment?
Do you know what it is, right? This is really interesting. Although this is only, I say only, like 9 hours is going to be, I think, today, and it's 16 speakers. This has took quite a lot of my time to put together. So when you're talking about putting TEDx together with all them speakers and nurturing them along and coaching them, I can totally relate, because this is just an online thing where you just think, you know, it is rock up and then speak to people, then go home. It's actually took quite a lot of quite a lot of time. So you know, it is, things haven't stopped for me from an output point of view. Yes, clients have kind of postponed, but I've just filled it in with doing other things that I wanted to do, writing content and writing a book. So I'm knocking a bit of that out, doing stuff like this. So I'm still as productive, if you like, but just on different things.
Yeah, I like that. I've been watching a lot of so I'm sure I'm not the only person who's done this. Please, someone tell us in the comments that you've done this. But over the last year, so I started my business and I was like, right, I first wanted to be a wedding planner. Yeah, exactly. I first wanted to be a wedding planner, and then I decided, actually, no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do events that would bring people together, and I wanted to have fun and be working with creatives. So that's what I do. But what I did at first is I signed up for everything you can imagine. So I signed up for like, oh, how to build your brand. Oh, how to, here's 100 ideas for Facebook marketing. Here's 100 Instagram stories ideas. Like thousands of webinars that you watch, and then obviously you get added to a mailing list and you get nurtured towards buying something. And I've bought lots of those things. And so what I've been doing recently during this quiet time is watching those things and actually the things I've signed up for, and it's great content. And you know, had I actually used it when I bought it, I would have been hitting the ground running a lot earlier. But I am really glad that I've done it this way, because I've learned so much that I can go, oh yes, that would have helped with that negotiation or whatever it is. But I do wonder if other people have also signed up for those kind of things, you know.
It's really funny, and I can't remember what the stat is, but it's crazy in terms of books that I've bought but never read. I remember talking about a book that I'm writing, and someone had said, you know what it is, Ian, just write it. Don't get precious about it. Don't get too perfect about it, because no one will ever read it. And I'm like, what? Like, no, because people buy them and don't read them, or they're gifted. But it's interesting what you say about like the time now to do stuff. I've done exactly the same as you, you know, and that's what I was on my last podcast episode. That's what I was encouraging people to do is, you know, jump on YouTube, learn yourself WordPress, or just do, you know, learn something. Now is the time. We'll never get this again, hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, but that is it. I mean, it is a good time to innovate if you're feeling up to it. I've definitely I've been chatting to a lot of my creative friends who've said, look, at the moment, I'm just freaking out. Thanks, Paul. So Paul does all of my branding with Nurture Your Zest, and he's been amazing as a sponsor and as a business friend. So it's nice to see you on the chat, Paul. But yeah, I think it's so, I've had a lot of chats with people where they've said, look, I can't get out of bed. I can't do anything. And it's really interesting how people respond to situations like this. But I do think you have to do what's right for you, and it has to be moment by moment, day by day, because it could change all the time. But by investing in time, you know, now, whether it's little things like I'm doing, getting my finances in order and enjoying it, or whether it's, you know, making new relationships with people you would never normally get to do that with. So Michael mentioned earlier the Free Day Initiative. I've been doing that for the last 2 weeks, and I've had so many chats and calls with people. Thank you, Suki. I've had so many chats and calls with people who maybe I wouldn't normally talk to, or some of them. So I've had people book on with me that I didn't even know were kind of watching what I'm doing, and that's really inspiring. But then I've also booked it onto other people's calls. So like I booked a call with Anne English the other day, and I know she's going to share a doodle about that later in the week. But that blew my mind because I was feeling so overwhelmed and I had all these ideas, and she helped me really focus on what I can do right now without spending any money right now and that kind of thing. So I think sometimes, as well as me giving out to other people, I can ask other people for help with that initiative, which is nice, because we all look up to different leaders, but we sometimes don't want to bother them because they're busy and they've got lots on their plate. So it's actually really nice to be able to have those chats and conversations and swap skills and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, just picking up on what you said earlier about, I think what I took away from that was certainly a key takeaway that I took. I'm getting tired. A key takeaway that I took from Sarah was, not putting too much pressure on and doing things when the time's right. And, Sarah talked about cycles, and maybe one day you mightn't be up for it, but the next day you might, and just roll with them punches and just accept that, yeah, I'm not feeling productive today, or I don't want to do that particular task, and do what you can do. And my dad used to always say to me, Ian, you can only do what you can do. So I've always took it on board.
Absolutely, you're so right. I actually think, for me, the thing that I found the hardest at the moment is university work. I'm an MBA student as well as an entrepreneur, podcaster, business person. So I've got a lot of assignments to write, and that can be really stressful when you're thinking, well, actually, I've got assignments to write, but I also need to pay my rent. I've got bills to pay and stuff like that. So I think I do feel for students at the moment. I think especially international students who are on their own, sitting in a flat in Newcastle when they can't really go out, they're worried about their family and friends back home, and they've lost that sense of momentum with their coursework, can't access the libraries, the societies and things like that. So back to TEDx, actually, as a society, we don't just do an annual conference, we do a lot of other things. So we do these online TED circles, which is a new initiative from TED, which anybody can do. You don't have to do a license. You can just sign up as a host and you can watch TED Talks in your home virtually with other friends.
Okay.
And it's a really great initiative. So I would encourage anyone to check out TED Circles. If you like TED Talks and you want to have a watch party with people. Yeah, that's really important, Pascal. And I think as well, we are still having, every fortnight we have a committee meeting. So tonight we're going to talk about how we're going to recruit people for our AGM, because we need a new president. So I'm currently president. We'll need a new one for next year. And then trying to get plans in place for our conference next year, 2021. So we've already, got a beautiful theme. We've got wonderful speakers. We've got performers. Everything's done. So now it's just kind of like, hey, new team, you can just have everything. Here's a template, just go and do it. But
yeah,
I'm still going to be around because I'm going to be, as license holder, I'll be gifting my time going forward for a long time. And I love it. It's such a great initiative.
Just let's touch upon your MBA, Ash. What made you go for that?
So it's a funny thing that you asked that, because I wanted to do it for years. It's kind of like a self-actualization thing for me. I love personal development. I always want to grow. But I did worry, as a very creative person who loves fashion and loves, art and making things, I worried that maybe it would be a bit too corporate and business-like for me. And I couldn't be more wrong. So I've learned so much in the last year. It's been hugely hard financially. So the cost of tuition for an MBA at Newcastle Uni is £22,800 for 1 year. And
Say again?
Yeah, £22,800 for 1 year.
Wowzers.
Yeah. And so, I got a small scholarship towards that. I had to get a government loan. I got an additional loan, and I've been working my whole time. I've been studying, but it's a lot of money. And I think for me, it was an investment in myself, and I'm so glad I've done it, because the entrepreneurship studies that we've had, the innovation studies, the meeting people from all over the world. So we've got 29 people in our class from 18 countries. So that is an incredible. He's good at that. Yeah, I think just being with people from all walks of life is just what lights me up. So if anyone would consider doing an MBA, sure. I wish I'd had a bit more time to save, I think, but I'm glad I've done it now. One sneaky thing, just a shout out to Grant if he's listening, but I had no idea about finance before.
Grant Murray?
Yes. Yes.
Boomerang Geordie, who we heard from earlier on today.
Yeah, our favorite man from XE. Actually, our entire MBA class loves Grant, but his daily updates help us with our assignments all the time. And so for me, I've actually been able to have conversations with people about stocks and shares and finance that I never ever dreamed I would be able to from those little daily tidbits. And so yeah, I think it's a brilliant course, but it's just finding the courage to go for something that's going to stretch you, so there's definitely been lots of tears, and I'll finish in September, so I'm so glad that I did it.
Awesome. I don't know if you saw the comment that our Suki's just put on, which suggests that you speak to Nicola and let me have a break.
Well, actually, that's a really important point, because I didn't even mention Nurture Your Zest.
Yeah, go on, a couple of minutes.
Hang on.
Oh, here we go.
Wait.
Wait.
I have a podcast. Whoops. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. No.
There you go. Nurture Your Zest. We can see it.
And there's a cactus. So
just a random cactus.
Well, Nurture Your Zest is all about overcoming the prickly situations in life. So adversity.
Not random.
That's why there's a lot of cactuses in my branding, but yeah, through courage, creativity, and curiosity, you can find inspiration and find your zest. So
awesome.
Yeah, so I love it. I get to chat to people who are amazing, really amazing business leaders. I can't wait to get you on the show, Ian, but I want to do that when we're back in the studio properly, so you can have the full Nurture Your Zest experience.
Do I do 9 hours, or is it just 30 minutes?
No, it's probably about 40 minutes. Yeah, but it's
I'm in. I'll do it.
Yeah, it'll be nice. This is actually really a new experience for me, doing a live stream. So I'm really excited about that. And thanks for the opportunity, because it's always good to put yourself out your comfort zone and keep growing. And also because I now have invested in some kits, so I will be doing this more. But yeah, it's nice to challenge yourself, I think.
You're not out your comfort zone now, eh?
No. I mean,
I was gonna say you've absolutely smashed this. I'm gonna dash out. Go on, used to have a crack on. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. You go do whatever you need to do, and we'll see you in a minute. Hi, Nicola.
Hey, how are you?
Good. We've been chatting online for a while, but this is the first time that we're like virtually chatting, right?
I know, it's just like so incredible that we get to both be on this show. Bless him, he's absolutely shattered. He needs to wiggle around. Good up our Ian, and here we are talking for the first time on here.
I know, it's amazing, but I have been watching what you do with Mint Business Club, so I'm really looking forward to, when I finish here, going to watch your chat and seeing what you're getting up to. And I think we're going to catch up tomorrow, is that right?
I think we are, yeah, tomorrow afternoon. But I've got a question for you. So I've been listening, and I didn't actually apply. I didn't apply for TEDx because I didn't know what to put in. So can you tell us all what makes a really good TEDx application if we want to come and start speaking with you? What are you looking for? What do we need to be putting in there so you go, yep, I really want her to come and speak for us?
I think that's a really good question, and it's a very important one, because it's something that happens once you've become affiliated with TEDx and you have it in your LinkedIn headline, or people start to know you as someone connected with TEDx. It's like other things. Paul will have this with Newcastle Startup Week, Paul Lancaster, or Herb Kim, I know gets this a lot, but you'll start to get people coming up to you at so many events or networking events. Or I, at one point, was getting 30 messages a day on LinkedIn saying, I need to be on your TEDx stage. And it's like, okay, but we have an application process, So I think what makes someone stand out is probably letting them come to you. So we do sometimes recruit people like that. But if you're going to apply, the main thing is about what you're going to give to the audience. So it's less about, I'm Ash or I'm Nicola and I established this wonderful thing. And more about an idea and a solution. So rather than a problem talk, it's more about what can you give, So we talk a lot with our speakers about a gift to the audience, and that's really important. So what will they take away if they were to do a Twitter post after the event? What would their Twitter post be?
Yeah.
So that's, I would say that's probably the key thing, because it is really hard. Sometimes trying to say to people, actually, you're not quite what we're looking for right now. But the other thing to say as well is carefully curated. So if you have 12 coaches applying and they all want to do, I'm an inspirational speaker and I'm a coach. Well, what is it that you offer that is different to anyone else? So next year's conference, or the theme for this year, we're going to be Imagine a World. So we actually curated the entire program around that theme. And every person that we picked was for a particular sub-theme. And so there were people who were great in the application. There were just too many of them. So we couldn't actually give them all the space. So that is something that I would say, actually, the amount of thought that goes into curation is much more than people realize.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, when we're talking about all content, it's what are you giving to your audience? How are you writing those posts, those blogs, doing those videos? I mean, look at what Ian's done today. And honestly, big up to you, Ian. This is absolutely incredible what you pulled off. How do you curate 16 people to bring them together that people will want to be inspired by, and all of this kind of stuff? It's not as easy as just like anybody that applies can just go on that stage. And especially, I guess, you take a big risk if people haven't talked before and they don't know what it's like to get up on a stage and be speaking, because you want your audience to have the very best experience. So it's a little bit of a risk for you with us too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing to say back on the TEDx front is we do offer our speakers coaching. Actually, all TEDx events do. So because it has to be in a very particular style, it has to be 18 minutes or less. You have to have a solution-focused talk, not a problem.
Yeah.
There are certain things you can't talk about. You can't talk about like energies or vibrations or like crystals or new age stuff or religion. Although some TEDx do break those rules, as I've heard from people who've been to some events. So it's very much supposed to be, it can be about an idea, like say about refugees, but not political.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had some incredible speakers, and they've said as well that they've really liked the idea of what we've done, which is we've made them do a picture creature. Have you seen picture creatures before?
I haven't. I don't know. What are they?
So I might not be pronouncing that right. A picture creature is it's a great tool if anyone needs to get better at their messaging. So what you do is you create slides. They're only 20 seconds each. And then you have a presentation where you've got these beautiful slides and you can just, you've got a very strong message in 6 minutes 40 or something like that. I'm bad at math. I can't remember, but it's not long. And so once you've got your idea made small, you can then build it up again. So that's something we do with our coaching, and then face-to-face training. We get previous speakers to come and speak about their experience and coach them on theirs. So there's actually a lot of rehearsal. So if someone is going to come and apply, and their whole thing is about how important they are and how they need to be on the stage, and their time is so precious. Of course it is. Yeah.
It's all about me, not.
But I mean, this is why I always say to people where I'm helping them with personal branding or how to get their visibility up online, I'm always saying, let people come to you, put stuff out, but let them come to you, because I think with stuff like that, I mean, people's time is really important. We're working as students in a society with people who are very talented, very experienced in the professional world. But at the same time, we're limited because we've got our assignments, we've got our own projects. So we need to give them the best experience we can with we haven't got any resources, we don't get paid. Everything I do is about fundraising for the society. So, so when you get people who are very self-involved, that is going to be difficult for us to take that applicant, because unless they can commit to it and say they're going to be there for rehearsals, and they're going to come to the technical rehearsal, and they're going to attend the session where we speak to the videographer on what you should wear, what you shouldn't, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So we don't really need Ian back. Ian, you're all right. Go and get yourself half an hour.
That was amazing.
My last question for you, Ashleigh, is you've got to your first birthday in business, which is an awesome, minty, delicious place to be. Is the one thing that stands out for you this year? One really positive thing in your first year?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did a really fun event for Newcastle University, and I was brought onto that very late, maybe 4 weeks before the event. And I got to do that event with a really great girl called Maggie Elstob, who is very talented. And the two of us together just we were already working on other clients. We were working crazy hours to make this event happen, but it was all about celebrating the culture of Malaysia. And so we created a dragon dance and beautiful music, and we got the students involved. And what we did is we curated this day. We made a rice design out of colored rice, but we did it with the students, and that was a highlight for me. But also because when you're charging, it's really hard when you're starting out, and that was probably the first time I was able to say, this is what it's going to cost. And
awesome.
That'll always stay with me.